Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. Hi everyone. Again, your most favorite people are here.
We're back. Hi.
I am back every time, but he's back time to time. So Doug and Mo. And the topic of this episode is, which comes first, education or experience? But before we get started, I want to just make sure that when I say education, I don't mean necessarily just schooling. Education can be asking from somebody who is more knowledgeable than you in a certain field.
But that's strange, because if you're asking somebody with more knowledge in that field, they have more experience.
Correct. Often, yes. And more often. But actually, when we go back, we'll see that sometimes that's not true, because when you go to a school.
Okay.
But correct. But if it's out of a school, that's correct. Normally, they have experience.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the question, do you want, for example, when you start working somewhere, do you ask questions from others that they have been there, they have done it, or do you try to figure things out?
Or put it this way, I think you should ask questions from the people around you that has the experience. Yes.
Correct.
Should.
But sometimes some people, they said, no, I'm not going to bother them. I'm going to figure it out.
Because I have this. I can do this.
Yeah. So the concept of figuring it out, I think is a very bad idea. You're experiencing somebody else's experience.
But what if you think your education is good enough for you to do the job where you don't need the experience?
We call that ignorance.
Oh, I nearly had you there. I think that was the longest pause we've had.
I was trying to be more political. It didn't work. This was the best I could do. As a general rule, I would say just ask questions. Even we did a podcast before with the previous most favorite co-host, Bo, in regards to, and it was called "How to Use a Can Opener." That was about around the same topic, but
electric or manual.
Actually, that was another thing. Yeah, that which one? But again, regardless, would you just go figure it out? Because, for example, this was an interesting. A friend of mine who borrowed my. This happened at the same time. That borrowed my can opener. I told her that, but when you want to use this, grab the can and lift it up and do this. And then afterwards, she told me, she said, Mo, I went and discussed that with my friends, and we were laughing that, you were trying to teach me how to use a can opener. I know how to use a can opener. Then I said, the previous person who broke the can opener, she thought the same thing. And to be honest, after she used it, I think the can opener was a little bit damaged. So, and I'm dead serious. So I have bought another one, which I'm not going to rent that out.
No, you should give that phone.
I'm going to give the broken one to anybody who wants. You want the can opener? Give me a call. But at the end of the day, the idea is that do you try to figure things out on your own, or do you try to ask questions, and asking again, who do you ask from? Not just from anybody and everybody. You should ask your question from somebody who has a proven track record. Normally, I say your opinion don't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can give you all the opinions in the world. Yeah, agreed.
And this is the interesting one. We do that on regular basis. That, for example, about everything and anything, people, they have their own ideas, and then, you see that they make comments, and and this is one of the source of problems, that they think that they have a right to have opinion. And I'm actually saying this very clearly. No, you don't have the right to have an opinion. Your opinion don't matter. Of course, don't come and tell me legally if it is right or not. I don't mean it in that fashion. As a general rule, if you're not an expert with some good education in the field, if you don't have a proven track record, really.
So, if you're not what I would consider a subject matter expert, then your opinion probably doesn't really count.
That's correct.
How do you become a subject matter expert?
Obviously, if you have done something, and this is a very good question.
Is that through your education, with that piece of paper that you have on your wall? Or is that through experience by learning from people who has a piece of paper on their wall?
Now you just made me go back a little bit. This is the thing. Normally I say, this is how I see it. I say, first you try to learn it from somebody who has a proven track record. So for some of this stuff, we go to a school. For example, to become, I don't know, you have medical school. To become a physio, I went to the, obviously, a school.
You bought yours, but that's fine.
Well, they don't have to know that. but, you go to a school for that. And then there are teachers that they teach you. But remember, the teachers are not necessarily doers too. That is another thing.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? They know the theory. Of course, there are different subject matters that they teach, and then you go learn it. And for example, I'm using my own case in this scenario, that I go and study anatomy, biomechanic, I don't know, physiology, and a lot of other stuff. And the teachers often they were physios themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after learning it from them, I come out of the school, start practicing it, and develop, gain some experience. I feel very comfortable to say at this point, because I have had the education and I have gained the experience on top of that education, my experience after, but first was education.
First education.
Then after that, I gained the experience in that order. I feel very comfortable to say that when it comes to practicing as a physio, I'm much better than the teacher who taught me.
Right.
Because they taught me, but if they are not doing it, they don't have the experience.
So this is what I think, and in my own personal education, I can now kind of relate to that. In school, the whole scenario of how you learn things is based on a utopian scenario, like it's perfect. Nothing goes wrong. Patients are on time. Patients don't ask dumb questions. They come in, you do this, and it's fixed because the book says so.
Yeah.
But reality
is not that.
Is not. Yeah. And that you only learn once you're working.
That's
once
correct.
You're gaining the experience.
And actually now I'm going to go back. You said this. I'm going to bring this up. For example, there are life coaches now. That they are 20-year-old.
Yeah, I know.
And
life coaches and Instagram influencers.
That is the thing.
Yes.
So, and this goes back to the same thing. That how you might have some sort of education, which I don't know what that education is, to be honest. Yeah. For engineering, for becoming a carpenter, for becoming a manager or something. We have a schooling. I don't know where is the life coaching school. Of course, we have them for $1 a day or $1 a month or something, on Facebook. But except those, do we have any valid thing? And even if they have the education, have you had any experience behind it? So because of that, I find it very difficult to agree and believe that a young person with the shortage of experience, and I don't even know where the education came from to begin with, that they can become a life coach. And on the same token, for example, when I come and speak about different subject matters, first of all, I do it hopefully in more with the purpose to create curiosity. And a lot of time, actually, I talk about the things that I have some sort of experience. And doesn't mean, of course, again, I'm not saying my experience every time is correct, although it is, but I'm trying to play humble. Did it work?
Oh yeah, like flawless, very, very humble.
But normally it's the life experiences that they add, and sometimes some of the things I haven't experienced at all in my life, so I cannot really be an expert, in the field by any means.
The difference is though, and not everybody does this. If you, for example, on these podcasts, if you try and speak about something that you do not have a lot of life experience about, you research it.
Correct, but again, it becomes the education, right?
Correct.
It becomes for this thing I went. I watched some TED Talks, some podcasts. I try to find, but again, that becomes experience.
Right.
Again, you will not become the best.
No, you're not going to become the best. Again, then you might have opinions, but you're so old. I think you have the experience in everything, so you can apply the experience with the ideas of your podcast topics.
To some extent, I should say, of course, especially
yes, you're very old, yes. Yeah. Yes. Lots of experience.
I don't look like it by any means.
But you guys you have to admit, he looks really good for 76, right?
He's kidding. Absolutely kidding.
Only by 2 years.
But no, but in our reality, again, some of the thing that I do, again, is the concept of curiosity. Again, I'm not saying necessarily the thing that I say is correct. Some of it, I do have a lot of experience. I mean, maybe more than average, though, because of the type of lifestyle I have had, not just because of the fact I moved from one country to the other and the other. That's not the reason. It was more of a behavior that I had, that if something went wrong, I would just dig into it versus letting it slide. So because of that, it kind of exposed me to a kind of bigger variety of the experiences than a kind of normal average Joe. But again, at the end of the day, yes, I might have some of that, but I really try to, again, create that curiosity. Then, because we have different starts in our life, each one of us, we are different, bases that we have from our starting point is not the same, but the end goal is exactly where I'm, because the end goal for all of us, regardless, is to have a better life. I don't think anybody says, I want to work hard, or I want to become famous, or I want to become rich, or I want to become powerful, but I want to be miserable. Nobody normally thinks that. Normally, if they want these things, because they think that makes them have a better life. Right. And more often, actually, they are wrong, because they keep going too far because of that. That's another story. We'll get to it. But we have different starts, but we have the same goal. All of us, we want to have better lives. Now, with the podcast that I do, I'm hoping by creating curiosity to basically start that.
So is it then, to bring it back to the topic of this episode, is it to create awareness that you can, gain experience, or if it kind of is enthusiastic to you that you go and learn about it? Or
actually, a lot of time I have realized that if you start asking questions and people start thinking, because sometimes you think or you haven't even thought about that, I have to think about this. Yeah. For example, I'm going to go back to this, education versus experience. Then a friend said that, but for not everything we need education. For example, I know how to do the dishes. I said, really? I said, do you know? Okay, there is a story behind this. That's why, because the way I do dishes.
Before this story goes on, Mo did not know how to use his own dishwasher. But continue.
And this is the thing. This is exactly the thing. Right before this podcast, we had a chit chat, and then I didn't know that you can move the top rack of the dishwasher higher up, and they just showed me. And just up to like a month ago, I did not know that in the dishwasher there is what you call anti-raise,
rinse aid.
Rinse aid, rinse aid is there. And who is this guy? What does he do?
It's a little guy inside, but you have to remember to fill him up every now and again. That's a lack of education.
It is. It is. And of course, I'm not that curious to go and find out how my dishwasher works.
No, it's a dishwasher.
So I have seen that thing there, but I never questioned what it is. Till actually I was in Costco, and at Costco, and then they had the rinse aid on sale.
So you're like, huh?
I said, what is this? What is this? And actually I was with a friend, and she told me, said this. I said, where do you put that thing? So she showed me. So again, it's the kind of education versus experience. And sometimes the podcast that I do, some of the stuff we don't even think about that. But I'm hoping that with what I'm bringing up, we start thinking.
It's creating the curiosity.
Yeah. So you create curiosity, and then after that, you go investigate it. But the investigation for that would be, again, to maybe go learn from somebody else who has done it. And of course, again, somebody with experience, with a proven track record. And then after that, you just try to figure it out. That does it work for you? Because again, we have, as I said earlier, we have different starts, we have different backgrounds, we have different circumstances. So we may not be exactly the same, but the set of thought, if the set of thought is learned, then we can apply it. We can, adjust it to fit where we are at. Yep. I wanted just to add this. I had a friend of mine, once we were talking, and then he said, but you know what, Mo, for example, about this thing that say, I know 80% of it. It was something that we were talking about that. Okay. Actually, it was about business. He said that I know how to build a business. I said, have you had one? No.
Oh.
And he actually, this is silly, but he said that he wanted to go and write a book about
how to build a business?
How to have a successful business, yeah. I said, have you had one? No. So you didn't have your own business, but you want to write a book. He said, Mo, I know 80% of it. I said, do you know the difference between the mediocre and good is the remaining 20%? I said, the thing that you're saying that is true, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Normally, the rule of 80-20 that I've said, normally for a lot of stuff, we know 80% of it.
Right.
For example, I'm going back to this doing dishes. We were talking about this like 2 weeks ago, and a friend said that, but Mo, you don't need to go ask, for example, somebody how to do the dishes. I said, actually, somebody brought this up just something ago. My question is that, where is the dirtiest spot on a pan? A pan? What is the dirtiest spot normally?
The handle.
Actually, you are right.
Yes. See,
it is the handle. Yeah. No, that was actually pretty good.
It's your grubby paws that always goes onto it.
But you know, you would never have thought about that. You would not wash the handle as good.
Don't you wash your handles?
Not as much.
Getting completely off top. Mo, that's nasty.
But I don't lick it as much too. I mean, although sometimes
yeah, but you lick your hand.
But no, that is true. Myself, I didn't think about that, and this is where I'm going. Sometimes we haven't thought about it, right. And when I asked you now the question, you thought, and that was correct that you said. And when I asked him, he had never thought about that. He said the outside of it, because he knows that we wash the inside, but then the back of it. I said no. The way that I have heard, it is the handle, which makes more sense. So sometimes, again, the simplest thing, curiosity is this, that you make you think, and sometimes, of course, you came with the right answer. Sometimes we don't come with the right answer, but again, that curiosity is there, and then you go ask and you go check and to see what it said. Yeah. So back to this thing that we were saying, the rule of 80-20, when this guy wanted to write a book about how to make a successful business, is have you done it? No. So how can you write? We said that, but I know 80% of it. I said, chances are very high that you might know. But the reason most businesses fail is because they don't know the remaining 20%, not for the first 80%. And I don't know if you know, most businesses that they start, they fail within the first years. I believe they say like
5 years, and then
within the first year, 80% goes from the next 5 years. I don't know, a big percentage. The number of the business, I believe, don't quote me on this, but they last more than 15 years is normally about 3% or 5% of the businesses that they start, that they last more than 15 years.
Wow.
And anyways, so again, a normal.
So that guy, I mean, you say, let's just go with 2%, whether it's right or wrong. Well, it's low. That's the bottom line. Only 2% lasts more than 15 years. Okay. Now, sure, that guy who started that business, I know, maybe had a business degree when he started it 18 years ago. But ever since then, he's built up 18 years of experience, of real life experience. But that experience is all based off of a foundation of education.
Actually, I'm going to now, before I talk about that, I'm going to say that it was several years ago, this was a question for myself, that the businesses that they start, are they done majority by people that they have a business degree or don't?
They don't.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't.
Actually, this is the interesting, but now let me finish.
Interesting.
At that time, I went and kind of investigated that I think the top 50 businesses that are successful, I think just one of them, the person who started had a business degree. The 49, they didn't.
Nothing. Yeah.
But the interesting part, this is the interesting part. All of them, when they start a business, who do they hire to run their business?
The people with the business degrees.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm going to repeat this. To initiate to become entrepreneur, it is a personality, trait that you have or you don't. Yeah. By going to a school, you will not get that trait. Although by going to a school, you become stronger in something. But after the entrepreneur started the business, for their business to be successful, they didn't hire random guys. They hired people with business degree.
They hired with intent and with purpose.
Correct.
Yes.
So that is
and those are the people with the experience but also the education, because you don't want, I mean, especially if you're, if you're up and running and going, you want the guy that has the piece of paper, but the experience of regular day-to-day running of a business is very critical.
It is. There are lots of fine-tuning that is needed, and
Yeah.
the interest to learn, and to have the endeavor and the persistence, and those things, they don't come necessarily with the schooling.
That's a mindset. That's an attitude.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's an attitude. And anyway, so, but this was very interesting. So that the business degree doesn't get you start a business.
No.
But for a business to keep going, to develop and grow, you need a business degree, because they are the one that they show you a structure. I'm going to come back to this subject in the next podcast. I have one interesting, story to share. But anyway, for the meantime, I hope you have enjoyed it so far. And we will come back to this topic again. You have a good one. And remember, again, life is simple. We make it complicated. So if you want to ask question, ask from somebody who has a proven track record in the field. Otherwise, their opinion don't matter.
It's an opinion. And
for yourself, remember, again, you are an expert maybe in one or two things. For the rest of the things, we are mediocres. So keep your opinions very limited. Have a good one. Bye.